Boom! Yeah, ladies and gents, it's Monday. It's back. We're ready to party. We're ready to do this thing. And we got a good show for you guys here today. So let's get into our momentum with a little bit of Rocky. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business, on social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros. Let's do this, Sam. Drop.
Right. All right.
Dropping the heat. All right, all you business pros out there. Before we jump into the show, just a quick reminder to please subscribe on whichever platform it is that you're listening to us on today. Give us a like, give us a follow, subscribe, drop a review, help other like-minded business owners find value from our awesome guests while we rise up in those podcast rankings. We'll sincerely appreciate every single one of you for it. And if you want to be a guest on the show, we'd love to have you on to learn from you as well. Go to www.businessbros.biz, schedule your time slot. Don't forget to follow us on all our social medias at Business Bros Pod. All right, everybody, we're so excited and honored to bring yet another incredible guest to the Business Bros Pod. Our guest today believes that happiness doesn't come from sitting on a beach drinking pina coladas all day, but from understanding what makes us truly happy at our core and taking action on those things every day. As entrepreneurs, we sometimes find ourselves in a rut, unable to get the ball rolling in our next phase of growth. Today's guest can show you how to begin to build momentum in as little as 1 minute, giving you the push you need to break free of the gravitational hold that's pulling you back. Tune in today to learn what it takes to replace your failure habits with success habits in each of your 5 cores and build the momentum you need to blast your life, business, relationships, and health into orbit. Joining us today from More Momentum out of Chicago, welcome to the show, Will Moore.
Woo! Yeah. What do you think, Will? Few minutes in the show. I don't know if you've been on other podcasts before or not, but what do you think?
I mean, this is literally the best intro. I mean, every show needs to have this kind of vibe, this energy. I love it, guys. I love it.
Absolutely.
like to have fun.
We do. It's all about having fun. I mean, dude, if you're not on the internet having a good time, then what the hell are you doing here in the first place, right?
What's the point? Right. I mean, it ties into my message and gamification and trying to make things fun. I like to use game-like elements to reduce the friction, to help people to kind of stop the failure habits, I call them, in their lives, and replace them with those success habits in these 5 core areas of life. You got fun, play is a huge part of that. So kudos.
Well, let's talk about that, because I don't know about you, but me personally, I feel like I've mentally, maybe I stopped aging somewhere around 15, maybe 20 years old mentally, like as a male. Like, I know I still think a lot like a little kid. Yeah, I might have goals, and yeah, I might have a little more discipline, but I do some crazy stuff sometimes just to have fun. This show is case in point. Like, literally,
I love talking like a chipmunk to my students every once in a while, because why not? Because it's
fun, right? Like, if you can't make things, a good time, then I don't know. Again, I don't know what you're doing in life. You're not enjoying it. But at some point, we got to be productive as well. So help me balance the two, Will. How do I make it fun and yet productive?
Great question. And I love your human spirit. I can feel it coming through. Both of you guys. And, it's something that I always talk about, how, we all grow up a blank slate, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, ready to take on the world. We're having as much fun every single day and squeezing every drop out of awesomeness out of life is our primary mission. And then life kind of, for most of us, gets in the way, and we get into situations where, in my opinion, the world is broken in a lot of ways in terms of the way that the influencers that we have and what we learn and what we're focusing on. Just as you mentioned at the top of the podcast, a lot of us, I think, are obsessed with what we think is success and happiness, which is, if I could only, right? If only I could have $1 million and sit on the beach and drink a pina colada. If only I could have the right girlfriend. If only I could get enough likes on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok views. These things they start to take over our lives, and we start to compare ourselves to others. We start to let fear be the primary motivating factor of our action or inaction for others. And, things for a lot of people just start going south towards, once you get out of that adolescence period. So I love seeing people that are still rocking it out and live, showing their inner kid and letting that joy and that passion and that fun and that enthusiasm side come out. And as far as finding a balance, it's there. You can still be a responsible adult and have that joy, wonder, enthusiasm. And to me, that's living this 5 core life that I talk about.
I gotta jump in real quick. Speaking of, us basically being big kids, am I right? Am I seeing this right? Do you have like superhero capes in your background?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. I
love
do.
that.
So I've actually got 5 of them, and they each represent the 5 different cores. And I did a photo shoot once. I ordered them off Etsy. My family and I did a photo shoot, and each one of my family members was wearing one of the capes. So the 5 cores are your mindset, your career and your finances, your relationships, your physical health, and your emotional health and giving back. And so each one of the capes has a different insignia on it to represent those. And we just had fun in the backyard and just let it fly.
Yes.
I love it.
All right. Look, superheroes, I think we look up to them not necessarily because of their we love the fact that they might be invincible. We love the fact that they might be able to fly, do things that we can't do. But I think the core reason why we really connect with them is because of their vulnerabilities, because they're human, because they also are struggling with a lot of the same things we struggle with. When you have those capes and you were thinking about, I need to, what are these 5 core things and how do I make these things fun? Sometimes they're not. They don't seem fun. For example, it's Monday morning and my alarm goes off at 4:20 in the morning. I don't know how fun it is to be able to, open up my eyes and go do that. But my mindset has to shift, right? So help me with, speaking of that first core value, the first cape that you talked about, how do I get my mind in a position where I get past that, the alarm went off feeling, and get myself into a position where, yes, I'm ready to take on the day?
Great. That's a great question. The best way I'd answer that is, we all sort of have things that we are naturally good at, that we're naturally drawn toward, that we're naturally passionate about. What I always advise people to do is whatever it is that you do for a living, so which typically ties to that alarm going off at whatever, would you say, 5 a.m. in the morning? Whatever time your alarm goes off on a Monday, it's typically because you need to get up and start your day for the career aspect. Now, not always. Some people are tired, but even with that said, usually you want to start your day on the right foot and headed in the direction of what you want to do. So bottom line is, if you're doing something that you truly are passionate about and that you're good at, if you can figure out how to combine those two and add the element of giving back to the world, that's going to help you get up a lot easier versus a job that you literally are just doing for the money, you hate, you're stuck in, you want to switch out of. And, there's a lot, I would say the majority, I wouldn't say I know, the majority of people, that's exactly what they're doing, right? It seems like you guys, I don't know if this is your full-time gig or not, but I can pretty much guarantee just in meeting you guys for this short period that it's not all puppy dogs and ice cream. It's a responsibility. It's a show. You've got adult responsibilities. You got to put together the graphics, the team, the sound. I know what goes into a show because I have my own, but I can tell you guys love what you do, and your kid gets to come out and your inner human spirit gets to burst through. And that is super gratifying. And I can guarantee you that's going to help push you towards some of those moments where you're like, should I keep doing this? Do I have to get up at 5 a.m.? That type of thing.
I saw this post online earlier today, and it actually, I loved it. It was a picture of Will Smith, and he's in front of the computer, 2 separate images. And on one of them, it says, from 9 to 5 is how you pay the bills. From 6 to midnight is how you build your empire. And I love the thought of that because, I literally had a conversation with one of my former students, graduated a few years ago. And he's having this conversation with himself about what should I be doing next, right? Right now he's doing like fencing, for example, putting up fences. He's like, I don't know if I want to do the backbreaking work for the next 20 years. Like, what if I just found jobs and I sold the job, Could I do that? Right. And for me, that thought process, when I'm talking to, a 20-year-old kid, a part of it is yes, and part of it is no. Part of it is yes, you can definitely go do these things the way you want to, but the other side of it is, who do you want to become? Are you trying to go that way because you're trying to find the easy way out? Or do you understand the value that you can bring to the table as a salesperson, how you can help that end client, how you can help those contractors to do the work that you're doing, how you can become a value to the people that you're associating with? To me, that was...
Now, if you know what you're worth, now go out and get what you're worth.
Right? That's a mindset shift. That's getting yourself in the right mindset to deal with your career in finance. What do you think about, and now we're kind of moving into your second core value here, but what do you think about that kind of making them mesh together that way?
I mean, absolutely. You just hit it on the head. And whenever you see a disparity in what people are doing every day to pay the bills versus what they actually enjoy and love, you're never going to have, I call it firing on all cylinders, which is when you're hitting it on all 5 cores. And, a lot of us tend to focus solely on the career and finance core. We ignore the mindset. We ignore our relationships. We ignore our physical health. We certainly ignore the giving back portion, the emotional health, which involves stress and dwelling and getting your mind right and making sure that you're enjoying life and you're not just stuck in this realm of one to do after another. We tend to get caught up in those things and think, again, like I said at the beginning of this, if we could only make enough money, all our problems would be solved. And take it from me, a guy that sold his company in 2019 for a combined $321 million. Now, I wasn't the only owner, so that didn't all go in my pocket, but I got enough money in my bank account where I technically never have to work again. And it felt fucking great for the first 2 weeks. I was like, this is 10 years of my life that I just spent building this company, building this business. There's no better feeling than like, yes, I reached my goal. But then guess what? After about 2 weeks of just like this anchor off my shoulders, and I was playing some golf and I was just doing these things that I just had been like wanting to do, it very quickly became, now what? And that's the point. Like, life is about movement and growth. There is no getting that $1 million check and sitting on a beach and doing nothing. Like, it doesn't exist. And so if you can get that out of your mind and know that life is about growing and figuring out, okay, well, what do I want to grow towards? Like, what's important to me? What are my values? And again, it ties into these 5 cores. And I have this exercise called Back to the Future that I help people to figure out, where do you really want to end up at the end? Like, let's flash forward to your funeral. What do you want people to say about you in each of your 5 cores? Like, that's who you want to become. That's where you start tying your goals into and start structuring your life and moving towards. To ignore that and to just be going on autopilot, doing what you think you should be doing based on the system that you grew up in, to me is just absolute lunacy.
I feel like what you're describing there is to have purpose, right? Not so much destination, but a reason to want to get up in the morning. I mean, you hit a monetary goal. And there's nothing wrong with hitting a monetary goal. As a matter of fact, that's freaking phenomenal. Congratulations on doing that. But I remember listening to it was a Joe Rogan interview with Kevin Hart, and he's talking about how every step of the way in his life, he always feels like he gets to a level and then he needs to level up. Right. He needs to go to that next level, because once you're standing there, you look back and all the hard work you put in, you understand the hours of time that went into it. And you have become, again, going back to, who you are, you've progressively become a better person to be at that level. But if I heard you correctly, when you're there, you take a look at the view, you enjoy the sights, but then the next thing you do is you're like, okay, well, what else is up there?
The next mountain to climb. That's exactly right. So here's a diagram. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah.
We strive for more because we feel dissatisfied. We feel dissatisfied because we strive for more.
The vicious
This is a never-ending loop. Now, this is I printed this off the App Store like a year after the iPhone came out. There was only 100 apps or so. I was literally just scrolling through, bored one day, and came across this app. It was called The Meaning of Life. You clicked on the app, and this is what you saw. This is it. There was no explanation. There was no other. This is all you saw. And I read this thing, and this had a huge impact on me, because at first I was like, holy shit, Nikes, that's depressing. Basically, you're telling me that we strive for more because inherently feel dissatisfied, and we inherently feel dissatisfied. So we have to continue to strive for more, which is basically what we were just talking about, in that you're never going to be satisfied. You're going to hit a goal, and then you're going to want to then you want to hit the next goal and the next goal. And at first I was like, God, that sounds exhausting. Right. But then it hit me, and that's kind of what I built, like everything that I'm doing. And I built my life from that point on, which helped me, I think, to get to the point where I was able to exit my business and live this more balanced 5-core life, where it was basically like, as long as you realize that life is about continually moving and growing, and that there is no just sitting, even when you get older, when you retire, you got to have stuff going on. Like, you got to keep your body and your mind moving, right? Whether you're volunteering, whether you're hanging out with your friend, whatever it is, whether it's a charity that you're passionate about. Mitzi Perdue, 80-something years old, the widow of Frank Perdue, the chicken magnate, and also the daughter of the founder of Sheraton Hotels, who I've become really good friends with. We did an interview one time, and we've become good friends. Human trafficking is her thing, right? And she's got bagazillions of dollars. She probably wouldn't want me saying this, but she does. And she could just be sitting around just drinking martinis all day if she wants, but she's dedicated her life to fighting human trafficking. And we have this call once a week. It's a group call that I've started this networking group with, of people like her that are super passionate about things. And we talk about how we can help one another. And her eyes light up. She's just so engaged, and just, you could see that, like, she's got her goals. She's going to get there no matter what. That's what keeps her getting up every day. That's what keeps her moving. That's what keeps her excited. You got to have these things. It doesn't matter how old you are.
You started this mastermind group, and I'm assuming it's very philanthropical. But that's a relationship that you've established. Relationships is part of your 5 cores. What advice would you give to somebody getting into a business, or who's already established? Where should I be spending my time in my relationships? Because I could easily spend time with a number of different people inside and outside of my organization. But if I truly want to get to a level of success as an entrepreneur, where maybe I am being acquired or selling off my particular business, where should I be focusing my attention on? Do you have like a specific balance between work, home, between management and employees? How do I balance out those relationships?
So I break the relationship core into 3 different categories. You have your your colleagues and acquaintances. Now, I would actually consider you one of these. It's people that you either work with casually or you just meet along the way. To me, these are opportunities. And the 99% of us, people come in and out of our lives. We don't pay much attention. We don't see that, there's an opportunity to help this person. And then maybe there's an opportunity down the line where we become allies because I've helped them, and then they want to help me. One of the greatest universal principles of life. And by the way, everything I do, everything I base all of my stuff on, is based on what I call universal principles, which are things that have been around since the beginning of time, and they're going to be around until we destroy ourselves. You can hang your hat on them. You don't have to worry about whether or not I should take action on this thing. And one of the problems that I see in society, like I was saying earlier, is I think that we're basing a lot of our actions and a lot of the habits that we develop around the opposite of the universal principles, or the wrong things, right? And one of these universal principles is, now I just lost my train of thought. What were we just talking about right before then?
We're on the relationships, on balancing the relationships. Acquaintances.
One of the universal principles is, the more you give, the more you get back. I mean, it may not happen right away, but it's gonna happen. I've seen it happen. I've read it. I've read thousands of self-help books. I was suicidal in college, and I serendipitously discovered a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It completely changed my life. And then I saw a different way to look at the world. I became this insatiable self-help beast, and I was determined to learn all of these principles and all of these things in life and reinvent myself and figure out what it means to be happy. And one of these things that I've read 1,000 times, I've seen it with myself numerous times, is the more you give, the more you get. And that's what one of the 5th principle, emotional health, giving back, is a big part of that. And it really is true in relationships, that if you take the focus off yourself, and in fact, that's what the heart of How to Win Friends and Influence People, that very first book I ever read, was about, is it ain't rocket science, people. If you put your attention and you make other people feel special, and you're aware of them and ask them questions and want to help them to fulfill their dreams and their goals and their desires, you will never have problems having friends, relationships, business partners, allies, whatever you want to call it. It will come to you, because 99% of us, we put it all on us. We put the focus on us, just as I did back when I called it a fixed victim versus now I consider myself a growth owner. And the fixed victim is poor me. It's all about me. Maybe one day I'll hit the lottery. What can this person do to help me? How can I take, right? And that's like a one-way ticket to Lameville, to Miseryville. And so, to me, it's that giving back portion. And so acquaintances like you and I'm going to write your information down. I'm going to proactively try to keep in touch. And I hope that there's a way that I can help you. I'll send an email after this and say, or DM, how can I help you? I hope there's a way that we can keep in touch. And if there is, I'm super excited, because I know that I've just helped your momentum grow, and I like what you're doing and your mission. And then maybe one day it'll come back my way from you or from another source. I don't know, but I know it's a universal principle and it will come back. Then the next one is your friends and your family. So it's like, there's certain habits involved with each of these things, with each of these categories. And with your friends and your family, a big part of it is, are you spending real human quality time with these people? And I'm not, and you asked, like, how much, what's the perfect amount? There's no magic number. You'll just know it. Like, you'll know if you're giving your kids enough time, if you're spending enough time with your wife, and I always say, are you proactively scheduling things like date night with your spouse? Or are you, do you have a time each day, at least for like an hour, where you're like with your kids, or, friends? Like, are you proactively going out and, like, obviously it's been hard with COVID, but at least talking to them on the phone, doing Zoom. Like, my wife and I, with some of our friends, we were doing these Zoom parties and we were playing like board games and stuff when we couldn't see them. But you can't just like their page on Facebook and expect that to be a fulfilling relationship, right? You can't like their photo. And, that's when things start to, as human beings, we crave that human interaction, and we need that. And so I'm really glad that COVID's coming to an end, because it's a big part of just our happiness is being around other people. And then the last one is your significant other, your spouse, which is a whole nother topic, but there's certain for having a successful relationship that you want to abide by as well.
Good stuff right there. I had a conversation today, and it went very much into the, do you believe in God? Do you believe in like being able to have fate, destiny? And it came down to a lot of what you were saying right now, where my opinion was very much of the, you can call it karma, reciprocity, whatever it is. For me, it's always been giving out as much as I possibly can in good vibes. Sometimes it's good well wishes. Sometimes it's good intentions. Sometimes it's actually actions or giving of myself. And I think religion has really helped bring that into my life. My parents really kind of drilled that into us, where you need to be of service to other people. With today in a post-COVID world, in a fast-paced society, what would you deem a human interaction where you're actually giving a little bit of yourself? And I'll give you an example. I like to, for example, when it's time to say happy birthday to somebody, I like to send them a video message. And it's a little bit different than just a like. It's a little bit different than, sending a card. It's me saying happy birthday to you in a video as a DM. It's not in person. I'm not shaking their hand. I'm still in the digital space. So what defines human interaction to help these relationships versus digital?
Well, so that's a really great thing that you're doing there. And that's a good question. Like I said, in a perfect world, we could be around everybody in person. I do think there's no real substitute for like having that in person. However, I think we're very, very fortunate to be living in a day and age where we can use technology to help us get pretty darn close. And doing things, like I said, like during COVID, like having these, I think the world is changing for the better, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, because, number one, stuff like commuting. I live in Chicago in the suburbs, and I can't tell you how many friends I have that spent 2 to 3 hours commuting every single day, missing out on their actual family time and their actual friends' time. Right now, a lot of these employers have decided to go virtual permanently, because they're like, wow, we're getting just as much productivity out of them. And then and the employee loves it because they're getting just as much work done in half the time, and then they can go spend their time on the things that they do love and care about. So not to get off topic, but stuff like video messages, Zoom, like that stuff counts to me. Like, doing the bare minimum of liking somebody's photo or just shooting a text, happy birthday. I mean, shooting a text, happy birthday is better than nothing if you didn't send it. But, a video message, like at the end of the day, like I said, it goes down to that Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People, making the other person feel special. Any way you can do that and going above and beyond, doing something different. I love that idea, and I might steal it. Like doing a personalized video message. I was just watching a show last night, and they were talking about that Cameo. Are you familiar with Cameo, that website? Mm-hmm. And they had the CEO of that guy on, and he said they were kind of doing okay. And then when COVID hit, he's like, they just exploded. And he's like, some of their people, Gilbert Godfrey has made 8,000 Cameo messages. It literally is his career now. And he's just giving these personalized, for people that don't know, it's celebrities giving their people paying to get personalized messages from celebrities. I think they say mostly it's like happy birthday, but they personalize it. Hey, so Gilbert Godfrey, hey, well, happy birthday, doing this thing.
Iago's sending you a birthday message.
Who is?
Iago, the parrot from Aladdin.
Right. I think. Well done. And so, right. And you could see, like, he was interviewed and he's like, he loves it. And he's like, here was this unemployed, out of work actor that, is, kind of getting older, and where a lot of them get put out to pasture. And now it's like his whole life has springboard. He's got a second lease on life, and he's making people smile and be happy. Like, I love that. So if, you can figure out ways to do that and use technology. Absolutely.
Oh, dude. Well, I want to make sure that people are aware of what it is that you're doing. We've been talking about all the great stuff that you do at your core, that, the things that you live your life by. But if people want to work with you, what is it that who's your ideal customer? What is it that you're actually selling? I didn't even ask that at the beginning. I should have. So
I'm not selling anything. I actually don't have any products. I have a website. And I have at 5 Core Life is our Instagram page, which you're showing here. We have over 420,000 followers, and it's good news type stuff. I'll do little videos, inspirational stuff, talking about, hey, here's some habits you want to work on. Here's a core. Here's a specific habit. Here's a quick little tip on how to get your momentum going in that core here and there. The big thing that I'm working on, that I've been working on for the last 2.5 years, is an app, and it's going to be free. But it's gamifying all this stuff I'm talking about. It's a way to hold yourself accountable in a modern world where it's all click a button and immediately get something that you want. Right now, you can get yourself delivered in a vehicle by clicking a button. You can get anything delivered to you within an hour, pretty much just about anything in the world. We're this on-demand society right now that, in my opinion, we're getting dangerous into this this complacency mode of feeling like our brains are being tricked into feeling like we can just sit back, do nothing, hit buttons, and things come to us. And so what I'm doing, and by the way, have you seen The Social Dilemma on Netflix?
Yes.
So perfect example. A lot of these companies are using these ways that they know science and technology works to hit our dopamine levels to get us addicted to their products, right? So Facebook and Google, they talk about in that documentary, Social Dilemma. And I don't personally think that Larry Page and Mark Zuckerberg set out to be evil. I don't think that at all. I think that these are two guys that went out to create something awesome, and they did. Then they went public, and they now are trapped. The genie's out of the bottle. They have a fiduciary responsibility to make as much money as possible to their shareholders. And if they don't, they get in a shitload of trouble, and they're going to, it all comes down on them. So what do? They got to keep it going, and they got to keep you addicted and to mine your attention, to sell your attention. That's how these companies make money. And I thought the movie did a great job, because these are things I've been talking about for years, of sort of having that, fake scenario with the kid. He breaks up with his girlfriend and he's upset, and then he's kind of scrolling through Facebook, and then all of a sudden he sees an ad for this radical group that has guns, and he's like, if I can click on that. And then all of a sudden it's like the social network sees that he's interested in that, and they start showing him more ads, and then he starts clicking on even more. And from just the curiosity thing, it becomes like he's now reading in and buying into this stuff, and he's like becoming this radicalized individual and having all these hate thoughts against the opposite side, which sound familiar, right? We're living in a polarized world. And then, by the end, and it just compounds, and all of a sudden then he's seeing gun ads, and he's clicking on the gun ads, and now all of a sudden he's got a gun, and now he's at this rally, and it's like, what the how did that happen? It's like that happens every single day, because we're seeing the things that these companies think we want to see, or that advertisers are paying, like, oh, that person expressed interest, well, let's show them more than them. But wellness, happiness, it's not even in the equation, right? It's all about their profit. And so to me, what I've set out, my goal, my mission in life with everything I'm doing is to use that same technology and science, and to use what I call gamifying, and using these different methods to basically trick your brain into wanting to take actions, hitting those dopamine hits. But when you level up on screen, you're also leveling up in real life. And the pledge is that we will always put the user's wellness over profit.
That is some powerful stuff right there, because you're absolutely right. I mean, I guess if you're really thinking about it the way you described it now, everybody's on this track to trick the brain. Like, we want to trick the brain as easily as we can, whether it's towards that monetary point of view, or like you're talking about in the wellness side. I almost feel like we're heading towards that AI a little bit differently now. Like, that AI is gonna drive us in one direction or another, and it's up to us to decide which direction we're gonna put them in, right? Which operator is it going to be? Is it going to be the marketing operator that's profit driven, or is it going to be the humanistic operator that is happiness and wellness driven? Man, that's quite a battle you have ahead of you.
Right. And so there needs to be more companies like what I'm trying to do. And I'm forming alliances, and there's a group of 5 or 6 other companies, Mitzi's included, I was talking about earlier, of people that are doing the same thing I am, which is, setting out to use the same stuff, but make sure that it's at the happiness and the wellness of the user is front and center. And to me, I don't think there's a more perfect time in the world for this, because it's like we've just reached that tipping point, in my opinion, where it's like technology has grown so fast. And there's this quote, I wish I could remember it, but it's to the effect of, our knowledge is growing so exponentially, but our wisdom isn't. And that it's like, we can do all these things, but like Stan Lee, right, said, with great power, there must come great responsibility. And it's like, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. And then, so now it's to the point where, in my opinion, it's like, okay, well, how can we use that same stuff and actually help people with it? And you're starting to see apps like, and companies like Peloton, right? They're genius. They're gamifying your fitness. I've never seen anything like the addictive level of how people are literally getting addicted to working out, because they're using those same dopamine hits. There's rewards, there's challenges, there's the social aspect, there's the play, there's the fun, there's the video, the technology. They're using all that stuff, right? Same with Robinhood for finances. Say what you want. There's a big argument there to be had that, in my opinion, even that they should be using, there should be like a course people have to go through, or at least something before people can start trading. Because I do agree with the fact that it's great to get the young people into trading now, and to get more people into learning how to use the power of compounding to compound their wealth early on. Whereas up until literally like the last year or so, I think for most young people, they just look at that as like, oh, well, that's what my parents do. Or that's too intimidating. No, it's not. And the earlier you start, the more it'll pay off. So my career in my finance core, I talk all about the law of compounding and how important that is, and how the earlier you start, the better. And so, getting companies like this, just getting people more aware of it, and getting using this science and this technology and this gamification, I'm all about. And I feel like that's where, that's this next shift. And you even see companies like Apple, and I got my iWatch here, and you got your rings, you got the Fitbit, like they're becoming aware that they have this bad reputation, and they better start doing some good for the world. Otherwise, there's going to be a big revolt.
Man, and the cool thing is we just barely scraped the surface. Like, this is a whole idea of where does humanity go from here? We're erasing the walls of borders as we get more in depth with the technologies that we use. I mean, you were talking about, not having to commute. Well, guess what? That means I don't have to hire somebody in Chicago either. I can hire somebody in the Philippines or somebody in any other remote part of the world who's capable and willing and able. We're tearing down all kinds of barriers and at the same time opening Pandora's boxes in different places we didn't quite understand. But now with people like you joining the fight, I really feel like that really attests to the capes that you had in the background, because I really do feel like from a higher level looking in, you're putting your feet down to really put up a fight, and it's the battle of the mind. It's really going to come down to where do we want to go from here. I feel like we're going to see more and more extreme situations when it comes to polarization, when it comes to ideas and beliefs, when it comes to health and wellness, all the cores that you talked about, because there's going to be both sides fighting for that attention all the way through. Will, it's been a pleasure getting to know you on the show, man. Before we head out, let people know how they can get a hold of you, how they can find out more about what it is that you're doing so they can get involved.
Yeah, thanks, man. Well said, by the way. And I totally agree with you. So moremomentum.com, my website, MOORE, momentum.com. As I mentioned, I'm developing this app. We didn't even really get into it, but just know that it's going to gamify holding yourself accountable, gamify making sure that you're taking those steps in the right direction every single day. You're stopping your failure habits in each of your cores. You're replacing them with success habits. You're a little rocket ship and you're going off into different galaxies and meeting planets and aliens and fighting through asteroid fields and leveling up your ship. You can go, if you click on Gamify Your Life and then click on the app tab, you can sign up for the beta when it'll be ready. I'm hoping they'll be ready in the next month and a half. And then there's also just to sign up for I do a weekly blog, and then 5 Core Life is probably the next best place to go. Or my YouTube channel, which is all Will Moore. And 5 Core Life, I think you had on there right there, spelled with a 5, the number, and then Core Life. That's our Instagram page. And then YouTube is just Will Moore.
Well, man, thank you very much for coming on the show again, dude. You got your work cut out ahead of you, dude. There's a lot that you're going to be fighting against. Some things I know the battle that's happening in our minds. Sometimes we don't even know what side we're on, and we're in our own minds. We don't know what's being controlled, what's being fed, what's being nourished, and what's being depleted. We just kind of are going on autopilot, almost like we're driving to that spot and you don't realize what happened in between when you got on the freeway, when you got off the freeway, because your mind is going somewhere else. I feel like that's the kind of world that we're living in. Every time we pick up our phone, every time we hop on something, everything else is in control, and less of what we're thinking is in control. So I really commend you for the fight that you're putting on. You really do get to use those superhero capes because you're going to be changing lives, man. Thank you very much for coming on the show and sharing.
Right on, man. Thanks for having me on. This is great. Appreciate it, man.
All right, ladies and gents, look, this is what it comes down to. I had the similar conversation with a former student today. It really comes down to, what is it that you want? You get to decide. This is your life. Not what mom tells you, not what dad tells you, not what your coworkers tell you, not what your boss tells you. This is your life. Learn how to take control of it and make a choice. Ultimately, at the end of the day, when you're sitting down right next to your what do they call it, James? When you have an out of body experience, right? When you pass away and you're sitting there listening to your eulogy, as Will was talking about earlier, what is it you want people to say about you? That's the person you need to become today. That's the person that you need to work towards. And
astral projection.
Astral projection. I knew you were gonna come out with it, dude.
Got you.
That'll work out. So like Doctor Strange or the Hulk, right? That's how it works. But that's where the difference comes in, ladies and gents. That's your future. That's you. That's your process. Learn more about what you want. Find out how to get there. Go to moremomentum.com. Sign up for the beta. I know I'm going to check it out because I don't know about you guys, but I love having fun, and it's going to make things a lot easier if you just give it a shot in game mode. Well, James, thanks a lot for being on the show. We'll see you guys later. Peace out, y'all.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation, or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.